Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Bruno here. I just thought I'd bring you a little informative video, something that I recently picked up. I'm in the midst of actually prepping a couple of vehicles for the spring-summer season, or driving season I should say. I've had one vehicle in storage for about the last 2 years and I wanted to give it a really good going over. We'll do a video on this car a little later. It's a 1988 Pontiac Grand Prix, which happens to be the Motor Trend Car of the Year. But today, I thought I'd bring you a quick video on our brake bleeder vacuum pump kit, because it was about that time to actually change the brake fluid. I also wanted to pull out the power steering fluid, and I thought, you know, what's the most effective ways to do it, and do these little kits work? I know the mechanics kits work great, but you're a lot more money, and I just thought for the home mechanic, you know, how well do they work? So I purchased a kit off of Amazon, and you know, this is not a sponsored video. I actually purchased this with my own money, chose the kit I wanted, and I just thought, while I was looking around, there's not a ton of videos out there that really talk, do they work, don't they work? So I purchased it. It was approximately $25, $26, so very, very reasonable, and I thought, let me do a video just for those of you that had questions like I do. Now, I'll be up front, great little kit, but if you're going to bleed your brakes, the old-fashioned way of having a helper and them putting their foot on the brake while you open up your bleeder and that bleeds out your brake fluid is the quickest route possible. But we don't always have a second helper, and when I was thinking about doing this job, I didn't necessarily have somebody to help me. So I thought this kit would be a great idea. Now it does work okay. So I'll tell you a little bit about the kit and then I'll tell you pros and cons. So as I mentioned, about $25, $26. It comes with some accessories here, and I'll post a better picture off to the side so you can see some of it. Some accessories that attach onto your bleeder screws. You get a couple of tubes, short tubes, and then what you're not seeing in here, and I'll pull it out for you, is there's a long, about a 20-inch tube here as well. You also get 2 cups. They're about 120 mils each. You get the special cap on that, which is this one here, and then of course, and I'm just trying to make sure I don't drop anything, of course you actually get your brake bleeder accessory. And I'll bring this up a little bit closer. If I put my thumb right on the end here and we start to pump it, you'll notice it does build vacuum pressure. Now, this is a good way if you're planning to bleed your brakes on your own and you don't have that helper. It is going to take you longer by using this vacuum pump than if you had a helper. So I'll tell you that up front. What we did, and this is my experience so that you can understand about this, I'm glad I bought the kit. I think it was worth the money and it saved me some time on some other jobs. If you have a helper or can get a helper, it is far quicker to have them push the brake while you're bleeding it out. This will do it. It takes a lot longer. The downside of this is when you take your tube, whether it be the accessory or the tube directly, and I'll tell you, I just took the tube, put it right onto the bleeder screw. What you'll notice is some air will get sucked in because of the vacuum pressure. So it's really hard to tell, are you getting air from the end of the tube or are you getting air that's in your lines? So you may want to put some grease around that fitting, so when you put the tube on the fitting, it seals any air from being pulled in. And that way you'll get a more effective bleed and be able to tell if there's actually if there's air in your lines or not. Okay, so I just thought I would shoot a little supplementary portion to the video. Here I was just mentioning about grease around the fitting. So you have your bleeder fitting here. What you want to do is put a little bit of grease on it so that if you were going to connect it directly, you could actually take your hose, put it over the fitting. The bit of grease will actually create a barrier so that as you're building up vacuum pressure, it's not pulling air in just through the edges. The grease is going to create that block, and that way you'll be able to see as you open the bleeder screw, you'll be able to see if there's any air bubbles that are coming through that are part of the system rather than bleeding in through the outside where it's connected to the tube. So I just thought I would shoot that a little bit closer so you could get a more direct idea if you've never done this and it's your first time. Now I ended up getting a helper because it was a lot quicker to be able to have them push the brake. It pushes more fluid through than what you're going to get as you're pumping, because it is going to take longer and it's a slower process. What I liked about this kit, and this is one of the main reasons I got it regardless of helper or not, is that I use this kit to evacuate the actual reservoir. That's always really tough to get that older oil out of the reservoir. So normally what you're trying to do is pump some of that fluid, pump some of that fluid out so that that reservoir comes down to the point where it's just before it's going to start sucking any air in. Then you're going to put your clean fluid in and now really start pumping it through the system. And that takes a lot of time, where here I could connect it, very straightforward. You're simply going to, let me put down the little fitting. You're going to take your hose, you're going to connect it here, you're going to take your cap, connect it right here, take the long hose, it's connected out at this point, and then of course you're going to take your cup and attach your cup. Now with this, what I was able to do was place this into our brake reservoir, evacuate out all the old brake fluid. It'll take you about 2.5, 3-ish of these jars or more, depending on the size of your reservoir, to evacuate it. Now that I'm evacuated basically right before any air gets in the system, I'm able to put my clean fluid in. My helper comes out, starts pumping the brakes as we're topping up the reservoir, and it took us, a matter of minutes to bleed through the system, because you're just bleeding what's actually in each line to each brake. And it's very easy to tell with the clear lines because you have your older brake fluid, which is darker in color now because it's absorbed moisture, it's absorbed heat, it's gone through heat cycles. And when you're bleeding it at each brake, you're going to see the dark fluid coming out, and all of a sudden there's the lighter, clearer fluid. A couple of more pumps, make sure it's all clear fluid, tighten up the bleeder screw, onto the next brake. So it shortens the overall cycle. Plus, being an older vehicle, and it was at that time where, every so many years you should also change your power steering fluid on an older car. New cars that have electric steering, we don't worry about it anymore. But on an older car with hydraulic steering, you want to change out that power steering fluid every so many years, 3 to 5 years approximately. And this was great for doing that as well, because I could get into the reservoir, I could get right down to the bottom of it, evacuate out that old oil. Now, you're going to still have some old oil in the line down to the steering, but, I've replaced the majority of that oil, because they say you shouldn't really flush a hydraulic rack. So I've taken out the old oil, put in new oil, and now as I drive it the first few times, that'll cycle through the whole system and dilute out the older oil. And it made it really nice and easy. So even just to do those two jobs for the cost of $25, made it really easy. The cup is great because it all goes in there. Pour it out into a refuse container so it can go off for proper disposal. And it was clean and simple, worth the $25. Now, these kits, typically you're going to see them on Amazon, various other sites, anywhere from about $23 to $50. Most of the kits are $25 to $30. Well worth the money, not a big investment. I know it'll come in handy on a few other jobs, so I'm going to get my $25, $26 back really quick, just on the ease, simplicity, and cleanliness of use. So I thought I'd just bring this quick short video on the brake bleeder kit itself. I'll post a link on Amazon. I chose this one because it had some good reviews, was a good price, and it looked like from the pictures it really sat in the case nicely. All the fittings were there, where some of the pictures, if you look closely, you'll see the case isn't made for what they're selling because nothing's really sitting in its proper spot. Anyways, that's our video on the brake bleeder vacuum accessory. Thanks for watching the video. Please subscribe to the channel. We'll try to bring you more videos on small items like this that aren't really out on YouTube, or there aren't a ton of them out there, and might help you if you're a bit of a do-it-yourself mechanic or just enjoy tinkering on your vehicle like I do for relaxation and just having the pride of ownership. Bruno here anyways. Thanks for viewing. Subscribe, like, provide any comments. Would love to hear it. Have yourselves a great day. Take care.